All right. So this week, I went to my very first Southern Baptist Convention annual meeting. My wife and I went, and I just wanted to do something a little bit different today on this channel because I want to talk about the SBC and the annual meeting. And I want to share with you some of my feelings, some of my thoughts, some of the things that I learned a lot more about how the Southern Baptist Convention operates. And I just want to make some videos about it. I'm going to actually make 4 videos here. This is my plan. The first one, this one, to explain to anyone who doesn't really completely understand the Southern Baptist Convention and what it's all about, what it does, how things work, just explain it a little bit more to you because there's a lot of misinformation about it. And then also, I want to talk about some of the changes that our church has made in relationship with the Southern Baptist Convention because of some concerns that we do have coming from there. The second one will be more about my experiences at this convention this year and talk about some of the business that was held. The third video will be some of the hot topics that were discussed this year. In the fourth video, I'm taking the hottest topic probably that was discussed and pulling it out into the fourth video, which deals with women in the pastorate and the infamous law amendment. Okay, so those are the 4 videos. And as soon as I publish them, I will actually have the links in each of the descriptions for the video. So if they're not there yet, it means I haven't yet published it. Hopefully do it very soon. This is the day after the convention today. It's June 13th. We just got home. I'm going on vacation next week, so I want to get these done. I'm not sure how quickly I'll be able to get them published though. So first of all, in case you don't know me personally, and many of you don't know me personally, who I am, I was not a Southern Baptist until about 7 years ago, and I'm in a Southern Baptist church for one reason, because I was called to one as a pastor. I never really aspired to be a Southern Baptist. You know, I grew up more in independent and GRBC situations where often you hear about how bad the Southern Baptists are. In some ways, some of the things they say are true, but a lot of it is total misinformation. It's not true. But I came because this church, East Lake Baptist, is an awesome church and great people in it, a lot of potential, a lot of wonderful things. I came for the church. And because of that, I had to learn a lot about the Southern Baptist Convention. What is this? Do I even want to take part in a church that is in the Southern Baptist Convention? And so I learned a lot of things about it in the last 7 years, obviously. Learned some things that I've always heard about, maybe aren't even true. So I want to explain to you, just in case maybe you're in one of those groups, maybe you're thinking about coming in the SBC, maybe you've always heard bad things about it, maybe you're independent Baptist or GRBC or something, you just want to understand who the SBC is. So I just want to explain 2 things. I made a bunch of notes as I was sitting there in the meetings this week because I knew I wanted to make these videos. So let me just explain first, what is the Southern Baptist Convention? What is the SBC? In a nutshell, the SBC is an international network of over 47,000 churches. Their goal is to work together to accomplish the Great Commission. So that's the job. And of course, there's a lot of other things that go into it. The Southern Baptist Convention technically only exists 2 days a year, from the dropping of the gavel to the dropping of the last gavel. That's all the Southern Baptist Convention is. The groups, people from the church are called messengers. They are able to go and take care of business, do voting, and that is all. That's the only time the Southern Baptist Convention technically exists. But the messengers then allow what is called the executive committee to handle the business all the rest of the year. The messengers give authority to the executive committee to then do things all year. And there is a president of the Southern Baptist Convention who is usually just a pastor somewhere. This is an unpaid position. He gets put in for a year and he can run a second time if he wants to, but he's kind of the face of the organization, things like that, and does a lot of work, but this is an unpaid job. So, but there is a, what do they call them? The director or the president of the executive committee. This is a full-time job. And so that's kind of how the SBC works. There is no hierarchy. This is a common misunderstanding that you hear. You hear about denominations where there's a hierarchy, like just recently been hearing about the United Methodist Church and their whole issue with gay marriage and all that. And a lot of churches want to leave, but the United Methodist Church, doesn't allow them. I know there's more going on. They're allowed to for a while and all that. But sometimes there's property issues. Who owns the property? Well, you don't have any of that in the Southern Baptist Convention. The Southern Baptist Convention does not own the churches. The Southern Baptist Convention does not own the property. It has no control absolutely whatsoever over anything that happens in a local church. So if you heard anything different, it's by people who don't have any idea what they're talking about. Okay, don't take it from a Southern Baptist lover. Take it from someone who has been on the independent side of things and is now in the SBC. The SBC has no control over anything that happens in the church. The most that they can do is say, you as a church are not acting in friendly cooperation with us. You as a church, we cannot continue to function with you anymore. And there have been reasons. I'm talking about one of these videos that just this year we kicked a church out of the convention. It's all over the whole woman pastor thing. But they can't come and tell us anything. They can't tell us who our pastor will be. They can't tell us what we can preach, what we can't preach. They have absolutely zero control over anything that happens in a church. So a Southern Baptist church functions exactly like an independent Baptist church, exactly like it, because there's different kinds of independent Baptist churches, maybe some with elders and maybe some with single pastors. Same thing in the Southern Baptist Convention. The only difference between the Southern Baptist Church and the Independent Baptist Church is that a Southern Baptist Church gives money to the cooperative program that funds the SBC entities. That's it, okay? So don't buy into the whole idea that there's hierarchy or anything like that. There is none, period, whatsoever, in the Southern Baptist Convention. So along with that, there are some good and some bad things. Now, the Southern Baptist Convention, like I said, its main purpose is to do missions. That's why it was started, to send out missionaries. Of course, it's become very big. It's become very bloated since then. But there are some good things, some bad things about missions in the Southern Baptist Convention. Let me start with the good. The good things are missionaries go through a good vetting process. This is what they do. Okay, there's a good vetting process, and if they don't feel like you're ready to go on the mission field for whatever, they'll let you know and not allow you to come through one of their missions agencies. One of probably the best thing about the Southern Baptist cooperative program or their missions sending through the North American or the International Mission Boards are that missionaries do not have to go on deputation. In the independent Baptist world, they have to travel. And I have seen, we would have missionaries come through and they come through and these, they usually have like 10 or 15 kids and the kids are screaming all the time. And their poor wives look haggard and they're just trying to go on the road and 4 or 5 years, maybe trying to raise money, go on deputation. The Southern Baptist missionaries don't have to do that. So that's a huge blessing. They can get their training and go right on the field. So that's a great thing about the Southern Baptist missionary setup. Bad things, though, a more negative kind of thing is the churches don't get to know their missionaries so well. Because you're not supporting them personally all the time. Now you can, but you're not doing that. Which that is a positive for the independent Baptist way of doing things because you get to know those. The problem with that, though, is these poor missionaries, when they come back on furlough, they have to visit all these churches. I give them $50 a month, $25 a month, and then furlough is not a vacation. It's not a rest for them. You don't have any of that in the Southern Baptist Convention. But the flip side is that you don't always know the missionaries well. So I'm going to tell you in one of these, maybe in this video, what we have done to remedy some of that, okay, and some of the things we've done in our church. And also, maybe the biggest negative is you don't have complete control over where all the money goes. If you give to one of the mission boards, to the Southern Baptist Convention, it's just out there. You can't necessarily choose this missionary or that missionary or whatever. So you have the positives and the negatives. I'm telling you, if you're a missionary, I'm guessing you would probably rather be with the Southern Baptist Convention because you don't have deputation and all that. You don't lose $25 a month and now suddenly, you have to come back and raise that support. You don't have that in the Southern Baptist Convention, which is really good. So how does it work? How is all this funded? It's funded through what is called the cooperative program. All the churches that are part of the Southern Baptist Convention give to some aspect of the Southern Baptist, which is generally simply just what's called the cooperative program. You can give to any of the entities of the Southern Baptist Convention, but usually that's how it's done. Here in Indiana, where I am, and I assume it's the same way in all the states, is that we give money to our state convention. We don't send money directly to the Southern Baptist Convention. We give money to the Indiana State Convention. It's called the State Convention of Baptists in Indiana. I think I got that right, SCBI. And so we give it to them, and some of the money stays in this state for things that are done, and then some of it gets sent on. 64% actually, if we were to send money to our state convention, the cooperative program, 64% stays in Indiana, church planning and, whatever going on. And then 36% then gets sent up to the National Southern Baptist Convention. And from there, many of the SBC entities are funded. What are the SBC entities? I actually have a little graphic here. See if I get the right thing. Okay, here they are. The executive committee, which is kind of running the business all year for the Southern Baptist. The North American Mission Board. These are missionaries in North America. And this is their mission board. It's kind of like a BMFP or a BIMI or an ABWE or something like that, right? This is the Southern Baptist Mission Board. You have the North American Mission Board, and then you have the International Mission Board, which I think is kind of self-explanatory. And then you have the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. This is kind of a public policy arm, and there's a lot of hubbub around that right now too. We'll be onto that later. But they're involved in public policy, trying to push things and trying to stand against abortion, that kind of thing. And you have Lifeway Christian Resources, which is publishing. And then you have the Theological Seminaries. There's 6 of them, and there's colleges also associated with them. And then you have Guidestone Financial Resources. Many people use them for retirement and things like that. I don't really have any connection with them. But those are the entities of the SBC. And the money is going from them to these different places. Now, one thing you can do if you're part of the SBC, you can actually give money to the 2 special offerings that are taken up during the year. One is called Lottie Moon. That's taken up at Christmas. All the money that goes to Lottie Moon goes to the International Mission Board. Or you can give around Easter time to what is called the Annie Armstrong offering, and that goes directly to the North American Mission Board. And what I found out as I was studying what we're going to do here in our church, is I found out that if you give to Annie Armstrong and Lottie Moon, you bypass a lot of the administration. It goes right to the fields where the missionaries were. So we made some changes and we support that a lot more, but I'll explain all that to you in a little bit. So how does the Southern Baptist allocate its funds? I have a graphic here. I'm going to show you if I can. Okay, it's actually this one right here. When the Southern Baptist Convention, the national one, gets their funds, this is how they do it. Here's the 2022-23 cooperative program allocation budget. You can see it there, $192 million. 73% that comes in goes to the World Missions Ministries, which is IMB and NAMB. Below that, 22% goes to the seminaries, things like that. 2.99% goes to the executive committee, and then 1.65 goes to the ERLC, which is the Ethics and Religious Liberty. What does C stand for? Commission. So that's where all the money goes. So now we, a couple of years ago, we started looking at this, and we were getting very concerned with some of the things that were happening in the upper levels of the SBC, specifically referring to things like critical race theory, and maybe getting a little soft on that. And obviously, right now, you have the women in ministry situation and sexual abuse. Now, this is a big deal in the Southern Baptist Convention because nobody wants sexual abuse. Now, we all want to stand against it. The issue, the way many see it, and I put myself in that group, is that it has almost become like the heart of the gospel. And I don't think that's the heart of the gospel, but it's become like the byword. It's become the big thing right now in the Southern Baptist Convention. If you're not all completely, totally on board, even to the extent of maybe virtue signaling about it, then what's wrong with you? You need to be all about this. And of course, there's questions, how big of a deal is this in the Southern Baptist Convention? To listen here a year or two ago, you think that every single church is harboring people that have been involved in sexual abuse. That is not the case. It's not that widespread. I don't think it should be the paramount issue, though it is important. But that has become like the big thing, and legal funds just being spread, just millions of dollars. And we said, you know what? I don't think we really want to be giving our money that we thought was going to missions to that. Because if you were to ask, where does this money go that we're sending to the Southern Baptist Convention, you would probably get the answer, well, it's obviously, this is missionary money, right? Well, it's not, okay? I followed the fund, I followed the, where all the money went. Now, our church, we designate 16% of our budget to missions, okay? 3% of our total unallocated giving was how we used to, and now we just have a number built into our budget. Whatever our budget is, 3% of that goes to our local association right here. In Northwest Indiana, we have a local association. 3% of our budget goes to that. And then 13% then goes, it just used to go to the state, out to the into the cooperative program. But when we started running the numbers, we saw, we're not really supporting missions as well that way. We're supporting what we considered a lot of bloat in a lot of ways. I'm not trying to disparage the SBC at this point, but this is just what we looked at. This is what we figured out. Let me show you this. This was the numbers from a couple years ago, so I don't know if the percentages have changed, but we figured out for every dollar that we give to the cooperative program, remember, 13% of our church undesignated income, 3% we're already sending to the local association, 13% we just sent to the state. This is what we found out. Every dollar that we spent, 64 cents stays in the state, okay, for business administration, the camp, all kinds of things. But then what we really wanted to focus on was that 36 cents. So if we only gave $1 to the cooperative program, 36 cents is going to the national cooperative program. And then of that dollar, 26 cents. 26 cents goes to IMB and NAMB, 8 cents for the seminaries, 0.01 cents for the executive committee, and 0.006 cent for ERLC. But what really concerned us there is that 26 cents. So every dollar that we sent, 26 cents goes to the IMB and NAMB. That is all the missions. So if you gave $1 into it, I gave $1 to missions. No, you didn't. You gave 26 cents to missions. And that is a lot of, even for the IMB, the state side administration. And what we found out is that if we were to give right to Lottie Moon and Annie Armstrong, it goes more directly to them. And because we're so concerned with a lot of the stuff that's happening, like with the executive committee and some of the things, we said, let's just actually make some changes and let's actually send the money out where we want it to be. And so this is what we did, just to kind of tell you where we're at. And every church has to do things differently. We changed it. A lot of what we did, we still give the same amount of money in our budget. We set the same amount of money aside, but we don't just put it all into the SBC. What we did is we took that money, that 13% of it, and we decided, we're going to personalize this a little bit more. We give some to the state, but we dropped that majorly. We used to be within the top 10 giving churches in the state of Indiana to the SBC. But we dropped most of that just from giving to them. Now, some churches don't give a lot. I don't know where we are now. It doesn't really matter. But we give some, but not a whole lot. But what we do then is we gave a pretty good chunk to the IMB, International Mission Board, and a pretty good chunk to the North American Mission Board. We give both of those a pretty good chunk, and we still have a lot of money on top of this. So what we've done is, for the rest of that, we've kind of adopted more of what you might call more of an independent Baptist mindset at how we do that. We are supporting things specifically. Basically, we're just skipping the middleman. We're trying to get as much of the missionaries as we can. We have done some local things, like there's a food pantry here in town, a food center that we support. There's a couple of, in the towns around us, there's a couple of police departments that have sponsorships for their cars. And these are people, they're serving God in the civil world. And so we support them to show, our community that we care. There's a women's center that helps girls that are fighting or that are considering abortion, and it helps try to talk them out of it. The Women's Center of Northwest Indiana, we support them. Some missionaries to the Jews and things like that. We use that money to help those things. And it's been so great because we're able to target, we're really able to specifically help people, well, still getting more money to IMB and NAM. Now, our mission, even if we took out the rest of our mission giving and we only gave to the Lottie Moon and Annie Armstrong offerings, we are already sending a lot more money directly to missions than we were before. I'm not saying the SBC shouldn't be funded. I'm just saying it was our thought that maybe there was too much bloat and legal fees and questioning about some of their stands on things. And we just decided we don't want to take as much part in that as we used to. We just do some, but not as much. And also what we do, we keep some of that money out. We don't have it all designated every month to go to certain missionaries, though we do look to see what missions agencies or missionaries we want to take on that we know personally. That's how we're taking care of that. And so with this extra money, we keep it and it piles up a little bit. And then we're able to do some bigger things, like when there is a disaster, we'll send a bunch of money. A couple of years ago, and we got some of the tornadoes that came through down south. We loaded up a bunch of wood on a trailer, and some guys brought it on down there, from here, and brought it on down, and it helped. And other disasters. For one, we bought a whole bunch of gift cards, like for Home Depot or something, and sent it down to a church down there. And for the pastor, hey, pass these out to the people who need them. We have that money to be able to do that because we have kept some of that aside. And just this week, and this is exciting, just this week, we're sending an almost $53,000 check to Unsheltered International. If you don't know anything about Unsheltered, y'all check them out. My friend Travis Sharp leads it. It's a homeless ministry. And they are building a tiny home, a tiny village, and we are purchasing one whole little house for them. These are homeless people that are they're discipling them. They've come out of homelessness. They're discipling them. They become believers, and they're going to teach them how to deal with life and then send them out. But this is kind of a part, I don't want to say halfway house. That doesn't sound right, but a place for them to go. Well, because we've changed the way our missions is set up, we can just write them a check and send that. And people also have been willing to, say, I want to take part in it. People have given a lot in this church for that too. So it kind of opens up some of that excitement rather than just, wow, we're in the top 10 in the state of Indiana, or we sent more money to that $192 million or whatever. This is actual specific things, specific people that we can support. So that is exactly what we did. I hope that might help a little bit with some of you that are wondering, how does the SBC work, and maybe clear up some of the questions that you have about it. And my next video is going to be about some of my observations about the convention this year and talk about some of the business that we had to deal with. So I hope you'll join me for that one. God bless.